Remember our last deep dive? The one where we were exploring how poets can use language to connect us with nature, all that cool stuff about ecopoetics and space.
Yeah.
Well, get ready for a change of scenery, because today we're heading straight into the concrete jungle to explore this fascinating thing called Hoodpoetics.
It really is quite the shift, isn't it? We're leaving behind those sweeping vistas and natural landscapes and heading right into the heart of the city, the urban environment, focusing specifically on the lived experiences of Chicana communities.
Exactly. So what exactly is this Hoodpoetics? What makes it different?
Well, you can think of it this way. Hoodpoetics takes those core ideas of ecopoetics, like the deep connection between language and the environment, but applies them to the very unique realities of Chicano life in the city. It's about exploring how identity and culture and creativity, how all of that thrives amidst these urban landscapes.
Okay. So I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something before about heterotopias, right?
Right.
What are those,
Yeah.
and how do they fit into all of this?
So heterotopias, right? They're like these unique spaces that exist within the dominant culture. These spaces have their own rules and meanings. You can think of them almost like little pockets of resistance,
Yeah.
where Chicano communities can really express themselves freely and even challenge the norms.
Okay, I like that. So like a hidden mural just bursting with color, on the side of a building,
Yeah.
or a community garden tucked away in like an abandoned lot, just places that reclaim the city and really make it their own.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that these heterotopias, they're not just physical spaces, right?
Yeah.
They can also exist within art, literature, and even language itself. And that's where the work of a poet named Tetsuzamak really comes into play. He uses language, right, to create these really incredible heterotopias within his poetry. He explores the complexities of Chicano identity and the entire urban experience.
This is so much. Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes his work so unique? How does he use poetry to build these heterotopias?
Well, he kind of weaves together all sorts of different elements. You've got geology, mythology, indigenous traditions to create these really immersive experiences for the reader. And he does it in a way that kind of challenges those traditional, often very romanticized notions of what Chicano poetry, what it should be.
You bring up a good point about that romanticized view of Chicano poetry. A lot of times it seems like there's this focus on a lost rural past, this very idealized vision of nature and the countryside.
That's right. And while there's definitely beauty and value in that tradition, Tezosomak, he and other Hoodpoetics artists are really trying to push beyond those boundaries. They're saying, hey, the Chicano experience isn't just about the past, It's about right here, right now. It's about the city, the streets, the concrete jungle.
So it's like he's asking us to ditch that nostalgia for like a lost rural paradise and embrace the raw energy of the city, to look at the urban landscape through this completely different lens.
Exactly. And he does it in a way that's both powerful and thought-provoking. For example, in his poem, The Carnian Pluvial Service, he actually uses a really interesting geological event, uses it as a metaphor to really explore those themes of resilience and adaptation.
Okay, I got to admit, the Carnian Pluvial Service, that sounds pretty intense. What is this geological event that he's referencing, and how does it tie into Hoodpoetics and heterotopias?
Okay, well, picture this. Millions of years ago, the Earth, it actually experienced this massive period of intense rainfall. This rainfall lasted, get this, 1 to 2 million years. They call it the Carnian Pluvial Event. And it actually happened right around the time dinosaurs started to, diversify and flourish.
Oh, a prehistoric mega monsoon, huh?
Yeah.
Dinosaurs must love that. But how does he connect this ancient event to the experiences of Chicanos and the city?
It's really quite brilliant. He uses this dramatic shift in Earth's history, right? Uses it as this metaphor for the challenges and triumphs of Chicano life in urban environments. He's actually drawing this parallel between enduring that ancient deluge and the strength that's needed to navigate those social and economic storms of city life.
So it's almost like he's saying, hey, we've been through floods before, and we came out stronger on the other side, right? There's this really deep sense of resilience that's just embedded in the poem.
Exactly. And he doesn't just talk about the Carnian Pluvial Event in this abstract way. He actually grounds it in these specific geological formations that you can find in northeastern Mexico, places like the Huizacal Group and the Potosi Formation.
He's bringing geology to life. He's weaving it into his poetry. I love that. But how do those specific rock formations add to the poem's meaning?
Well, think of them as kind of the foundation of his poetic world, right? They anchor the fantastical to the real world. Because interwoven with all this talk about geology and these ancient floods is this mythical blue deer. It keeps appearing in his poetry.
A blue deer. That's quite the image.
Yeah.
What's the significance of this creature? What does it represent?
This blue deer is more than just a pretty image. It's a powerful symbol. You see, according to Tetzazomuk, this creature, it emerged from that flooded world of the Carnian pluvial event. It represents that ability, the ability to adapt, to survive, and even to thrive in the face of massive upheaval.
So it's not just about enduring hardship, but also about emerging from those challenges completely transformed, right?
Yeah.
Even more vibrant than before.
You got it. And this is where the indigenous traditions that Tetzazomuk weaves into his poetry really become fascinating. You'll find figures like Huaquayotl, the coyote god, and Mazatl, the deer, woven right into the fabric of the poem.
I'm sensing another layer of meaning here. Do these indigenous figures add to that theme of connection with the natural world, even when you're in that urban environment?
Absolutely. Tetzazomuk is really tapping into that deep well of wisdom found in indigenous storytelling and its profound connection to the natural world. He's reminding us that even in this concrete jungle, even in the city, those ancient ties to the earth, they still run deep.
I am really liking how he's blending all these elements together. You've got the geology, the mythology, the indigenous traditions, and the Chicano experience all in one. It's like this incredible tapestry of meaning.
He's a master weaver, that's for sure. And it's not just about the themes he's exploring, it's about the language itself. The way he uses those vivid images, those sensory details to create this truly immersive experience for anyone who reads it.
Yes, it's like he wants you to feel the weight of that prehistoric downpour.
Yep.
To smell that damp earth, to hear those echoes of those ancient creatures.
You're right there with him in that ancient landscape, feeling the psychological perseverance it took to endure that never-ending deluge. And that brings us right back to those parallels he's drawing with the challenges that Chicano communities face. He's basically saying, we've been through floods before, and we're still here, standing strong. It's such a powerful message of resilience woven into this rich tapestry of imagery and symbolism.
Yeah.
But how exactly is Tetzazomuk challenging those more traditional notions of Chicano poetry, the ones that often, focus on this more pastoral and rural past?
Well, he's shifting the focus, right? He's not holding on to this romanticized vision of a lost landscape. He's turning his attention to that raw energy of the city, reflecting the reality of many Chicanos today who live and thrive in these urban environments.
So he's acknowledging that the Chicano experience isn't stuck in the past. It's evolving, it's dynamic, and it's happening right here, right now in the middle of the city.
Exactly. And by doing that, he's creating a heterotopia within his poetry, a space where Chicano identity and those urban experiences really take center stage.
I think I'm really starting to understand this idea of a heterotopia. It's like he's carved out this space within his poetry where the dominant narratives just fade away and that Chicano voice can speak freely, powerfully, and authentically.
You got it. It's like he's saying, we're not defined by those limitations that others try to impose on us. We create our own spaces, our own narratives, right here in the concrete jungle. And those spaces, those heterotopias, they're just full of beauty and resilience and just boundless creative energy.
I am loving this deep dive into Hoodpoetics. Tetzazomuk's work is blowing my mind.
Oh, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And we've only just scratched the surface of his poetic world. There's so much more to explore, so many layers to unpack.
Well, I'm ready to keep going. Let's dive even deeper.
One of the things that really strikes me about Tetzazomuk's work is how he uses language to evoke the senses.
Well, absolutely. It's not just about reading his poems. It's about really experiencing them.
Right. He doesn't just tell you about the Carnian pluvial event. He makes you feel it.
Like when he describes that pungent petrichor, right? Perpetually perfuming the air after those rains, or those lissome whispers of washed out watercourses. I mean, come on, you can practically smell that damp earth and hear the water rushing by.
It's incredible. And then he contrasts those vivid images with like those desiccated decades that followed that deluge. It's this powerful reminder that change happens in cycles, that even when faced with hardship, life always finds a way to persist.
And speaking of life finding a way, that image of that blue deer, right? merging from the moistened matrix itself, springing sinewy from the saline source. That's just breathtaking.
He really does. He paints such vivid pictures with his words. You can practically see this mythical creature, right, taking shape right in front of you. This symbol of resilience born from this time of immense transformation.
It's not just, a pretty image, though, is it? It's a powerful metaphor for how Chicano communities adapt, overcome, and come out of those challenging times stronger than ever.
Exactly. And remember those indigenous figures we were talking about earlier, like Huehuecoyol and Mazatl?
Yeah.
They're not just there for cultural flavor, right?
Yeah.
They're deeply intertwined with that whole theme of resilience and adaptation. They represent that ancient wisdom and spiritual connection to nature that sustained these indigenous communities for centuries.
It's almost as if Tetsuzomak is saying, look, we come from this long line of survivors. We carry that strength within us, even as we're, navigating the complexities of modern urban life.
That's a great point. He's bridging that gap between, the ancient past and the present, showing how those ancestral roots can really inform and empower Chicano identity, even in that urban landscape.
And, it's not just the imagery and symbolism that makes his work so powerful. Tetsuzomak, he's not afraid to use challenging vocabulary, to really kind of push the boundaries of language. I'll admit, I had to look up a few words myself, but it was so worth it.
I agree. It really speaks to the depth of his knowledge and his commitment to crafting this truly unique and evocative poetic experience. He's inviting us to expand our understanding of language, to really delve deeper into those nuances and complexities of expression.
It's like he's saying, don't be afraid to explore, to question, to discover those new ways of using language to express the richness and depth of the Chicano experience.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that spirit of exploration, that's really at the heart of Hoodpoetics.
Right.
It's about challenging those traditional, often limiting definitions of what Chicano poetry can be. It's about opening up these new possibilities for expression.
So going back to our central question, does Tetsuzomak's work make a strong case for moving beyond that romanticized pastoral view of Chicano poetry?
Absolutely, without a doubt. He's not rejecting the past, right? But he's not bound by it either. He's showing us that there's so much to explore in that urban landscape, so many stories waiting to be told, so many ways to connect with our heritage, even in this contemporary context.
He's not giving us those easy answers. He's inviting us to really think critically about our own assumptions, to challenge the dominant narratives, to see the world through a completely new lens.
And that's the power of Hoodpoetics, isn't it? It's not just about reflecting the Chicano experience in those urban environments, but it's about reclaiming that space, challenging the status quo, and creating these new forms of expression that are both authentic and revolutionary.
So what does this mean for us, the listeners? Why should we care about Hoodpoetics and these heterotopias that Tetsuzomak is creating?
That's a great question. I think it's so important to recognize that there are multiple ways of experiencing and understanding the world around us. Hoodpoetics, it offers us this valuable perspective, one that's often been marginalized or overlooked. It's about expanding our horizons and acknowledging that richness and complexity of Chicano culture and identity.
It's about understanding that the city isn't just a concrete jungle. It's this vibrant, living ecosystem that's just full of stories and struggles and triumphs. And Hoodpoetics gives those stories a voice. It amplifies them and makes them impossible to ignore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing beauty and resilience in places that might not fit those traditional definitions of beauty or nature. It's about finding meaning and inspiration in the unexpected, the unconventional, the overlooked.
It's like Tetsuzomak saying, come explore the city with me. Let's find the hidden gardens, the vibrant murals, the echoes of ancient stories and the rhythm of the streets. Let's create new heterotopias, new spaces of resistance and celebration.
And he's inviting us to join him on this journey of discovery, to challenge those preconceived notions of what Chicano poetry can be, and to embrace the power of language to create change and to build new worlds.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far. I'm really starting to grasp the power and the potential of Hoodpoetics.
And we're not done yet. There's still so much more to uncover, so many more layers to peel back, and so many more insights to gain. So buckle up and get ready for that final leg of our journey.
It's really amazing to think about how how Tezozoma can, transport us to this prehistoric flood and introduce us to this mythical blue deer. And he does it all through the power of language.
It really is remarkable. He builds these bridges between the past and the present, the rural and the urban, the natural world, and that concrete jungle.
And he's inviting all of us to cross those bridges with him, to explore these new territories and to really challenge those preconceived notions that we have about Chicano poetry.
He's showing us that the Chicano experience, it's multifaceted, it's ever-evolving. It's not just about holding on to the past, but about embracing the present and shaping the future.
So after diving deep into Tisselmonk's work and exploring this concept of Hoodpoetics, I have to ask, is it time to move beyond that romanticized picture of a lost rural past?
Yeah.
And fully embrace this new frontier, this urban exploration?
I don't think it's about abandoning the past, completely, but it's about recognizing that the Chicano experience, it's richer and more diverse than a single narrative can ever contain. It's about expanding how we understand what nature is, and finding that beauty and meaning in unexpected places.
You're right. It's about acknowledging that the city, it's not just this sterile wasteland. It's this living, breathing ecosystem that's just brimming with stories that need to be told.
And Hoodpoetics gives a voice to those stories, to those experiences of people who have so often been marginalized or silenced. It's this powerful tool for social change, for reclaiming space and challenging those dominant narratives.
It all starts with language, right? With the power of words to transport us to those different worlds, to help us see the familiar in this completely new light.
If Tezozoma can conjure up this mythical blue deer and make us feel the weight of this prehistoric flood, just imagine what other worlds we can create with language. What other heterotopias can we build, not just in poetry, but in our everyday lives?
That's such a powerful question to end on. What spaces of resistance, of creativity, of community can we envision, and what words will we use to bring those spaces to life?
Language, it has this power to shape our realities. So choose your words carefully and start building.
This deep dive into Hoodpoetics has been a truly eye-opening experience. Thanks for taking us on this journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.